What's up, everybody? This is One and Done Weekly. My name is Sarah. Change is hard. And if you're watching this video, chances are you are wanting change in your life right now. Most people watching this video are wanting physical transformation, right? And so I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir on this one, but change is hard. In my own physical transformation, I was stuck for a long time. And the reason was I did not understand, I was not willing to accept that in order for me to change, I had to change. Another way of saying that is Sarah, who was overweight, was not going to wake up one day and suddenly not be overweight. For that physical transformation to happen, I had to transform. But here's the reason why change is so hard. It's because neurologically, we are programmed to avoid change. Change is uncertainty. It lacks safety. Whereas when we get into habits and routines and we follow the same thing over and over and over again, we know what to expect. We can control it, so that's safe. And so that means that we bias towards things staying the same, even when we desperately want that change in our life. Am I right? You probably can relate to me on this one. So what I needed when I was stuck in my own path was I needed to change my mindset. And mindset is really the way we orient to our day-to-day life. I think I talked in the previous video about how we do one thing is how we do everything, right? And so if you look back at past Sarah, stuck in her food habits, I was also very stuck in the mud in a lot of ways. If things didn't go according to the way I expected them to, I would be in an emotional upheaval. So sometimes I would get angry about it. I would get stressed about it. I'd get anxious about it. And my day-to-day felt very much like a roller coaster ride because anything I couldn't control was bad. Anything was bad that I couldn't control. And so I'm sure you can relate to this as well. You can imagine that the more rigid you become in interpreting things as good or bad, the more stuck in the mud you become, and then the more you stop progressing in life and moving towards goals or towards things that you want for yourself. And so what I needed was a new mindset. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about like the power of positive thinking, because to me, positive thinking is just taking reality and trying to put a sheen over it. And that's not what this change in mindset is that I'm suggesting to you. The mindset I'm talking about is actually meeting reality, meeting whatever you're experiencing in your life with a certain amount of authenticity, and then being willing to think a different thought, if that makes sense. So the example that I want to offer you before I give you a practice for actually doing this is water, actually. If you have ever seen water rushing down a stream or moving along a river, or even just moving along a brook, like something pretty simple, what happens when water meets an obstacle? It flows around it, right? The obstacle is there, it recognizes it, and it moves around it. Whereas if you try to, launch, look at the Titanic, right? You launch a big boat at something or try to throw a rock down a stream where there's a big barrier, it's gonna hit it and pop off, or hit it and sink. But water flows. So that's really the imagery that I'm trying to convey to you, that when we can get to a place in our life where an obstacle does not mean emotional upheaval, then we can begin to streamline the process of our change, or just streamline any process, even just your day-to-day activities. Because you're no longer having to fight with your insides before you deal with the outside. The obstacle comes, you recognize it, you name it, and then you flow with it, right? So I know you're probably thinking, especially if you are very familiar with that emotional upheaval of what obstacles can bring in your day, then you're probably thinking, yeah, Sarah, this is a lot easier said than done, especially when you're talking about big things, right? Like so many other things, this is a practice and it's not something that we change overnight. But I know for myself, working with my reactions to things, working with this practice that I'm going to offer you has enriched my life in so many ways. And I really do see a difference just in, I mean, gosh, I was talking to Forrest the other day about my Mondays are usually very big because I have back-to-back meetings. We've got it's a very, very fast, full schedule for me. And even though it's one of my busiest days, I'm able to flow through it because I'm not having to deal with my interpretation of it anymore. It's just simply this is the day and this is what we do. So the practice. What I invite you to do is, first of all, I really encourage you, if you're going to do this, to do it with a pen and paper or on a computer typing. Please don't do this in your head. You can do this in your head, but I think it's more powerful when you actually lasso your thoughts with the written word. What I invite you to do is the next time you experience something in your life that you're feeling a lot of emotional upheaval about, I invite you to write that thing down and then write the question. You're going to ask yourself, what's good about this situation? And if you're like me, your first response is going to be nothing. This is the worst thing ever. So then I invite you to write a follow-up question, which is, what could be good about this situation? So again, I'm not asking you to take something that's bad and just say, well, it's just good because it is. Be authentic about it, right? Try to find some kind of answer. So an example, this week is moving week for us. And I can tell you moving is not something that I jump at. If you were to say, Sarah, would you like to move? I would say, no, thank you. I would like to stay put. However, I can tell you one of the great things about moving is it forces me to look at my belongings and get rid of stuff that I don't need. It gives me the opportunity of letting go of things, of rethinking my environment. It actually, after I get into the move, it actually puts me in a very creative state. There are actually lots of good things about moving. It's just my first instinct is to say no and push against it. So I hope this resonates for you. If you do the activity and you have some epiphany, definitely drop it in the comments below or just let me know your thoughts. And I hope it helps you to begin to flow through your day rather than dealing with all those speed bumps that life has to offer. So thank you for your attention. Have a wonderful week. We'll talk soon.